All right, all right, all right, all right. Traffic man, good to see you. Johnny A. Sandra, hello, 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 one and all. All right. It's another sweaty evening in the Northeast. Thank you, Traffic Man. Yeah, I downloaded some royalty-free music. So far, I've only downloaded the one because I like it so much. I keep using it, but there's a treasure trove of royalty-free music, and I picked, energetic rock as the intro. So that is good stuff. Hello, Sam. Good to see you. Hello, Kenneth. All right. So let's see. All right. According to the internet, today is Monday, July 21st, 2025. This is Yoda Live. And I have a topic. The topic that I wrote as the title to this live is Good Men, and we're going to get into that shortly. Let's see. Want to make sure that all of my technology is up and running. So far, it looks like it is. All right. We are cooking with gas. Yeah, so Sam, what's the temperature where you are right now? I haven't even looked in a bit, so let me take a look. Oops. Oh, right now it looks like 73. Not too bad, but it's very humid. That's okay. I'm in an air-conditioned place. I have no real complaints. As always, folks, we got to let TikTok know we're here. So please tap that screen. Tap, 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 tap. We want to get to 10,000 as quickly as possible. Ideally, we try to get there in 10 to 15 minutes, but it's whatever we can manage, whatever we can manage. And Traffic Man, it's 68 where you are. All right. It's got to be 68 somewhere. So why not? Why not where you are? Yeah, so more people are coming in. This is excellent. Randy, thank you for that lovely compliment. Randy said, Yoda, you have such a smooth voice, dude. Yeah, thank you. I've been a public speaker since 1988, so, hopefully by now I've got it right. And of course, a lot of what you're hearing is movie magic, so to speak. It's this let's see, one, two, three, four pieces of hardware, not counting the microphone, that I'm going through, and two software packages to deliver that smooth voice. Hello, Blue. Thank you, Clay. I really appreciate that. It's funny because I had a similar experience to most people when they hear their voice for the first time recorded. I was like, wow, is that what I sound like? And now I've been hearing my voice for 5 years, right in my ears, you know, with my headphones on as I edit stuff, and I've gotten used to it. Like it seems all right, So obviously, since I own this voice, it's not a big deal to me, but I always love when I get positive feedback for it. I never get tired of that. Wow, you guys already knocked out my live goal. Wait a second. Yeah, there you go. All right, so I guess I got to do another one. Where is that? Bra-da-da-da-da-da. All right, so tonight I'm going to. No, that's too. Whoa, that's nuts. 249. No, that's crazy talk. Let's do heart puffs. I like heart puffs. Do 100. 100. 100 heart puffs. 100 hot puffs. Oh, thank you, Blue. You are very generous. I appreciate your praise. All right. So, I want to ease into this topic because I want women to know that not only do I love them and revere them and appreciate them, I have literally put my life on the line to protect women because I hate men who harm women. Absolutely hate them because I was born of one. My father, harmed my mother, and which is why she left him. And so when I learned that this was the truth of his being, I instantly became resentful, and I knew that that would never be me. And I also, as I got older and started meeting women and interacting with them and dating them and all that stuff. Hey, Danny, good to see you, brother. I just knew that, it felt like it was my job to protect any woman in my life. And when women came to me and said, hey, this guy is hurting me, I made sure that that ended. And it happened a few times. And just for the record, it never involved physical violence on my part. Verbal, yes. My words were very clear and very dangerous and very honest. And the men that I gave those words to understood that. And so those women were never bothered again. And I'm proud of that. I don't think I'm a hero, but I feel good that, I did my job, right? And so this topic tonight is called Good Men. That's what the live is called tonight. And for those of you just joining, I am Yoddah. This is Yoddah Live, and Yoddah is spelled Yoddah because film studios are litigious. Thank you, Blue. It's good to know. That's excellent. So I am well aware that men do heinous things. I am well aware of all of the statistics. And I know that we are responsible for a lot of harm. There is no question about that. But I want to urge women to choose their words carefully and also understand that most men are on your side. I mean, that's just statistically true. Most men are on your side. And we want to be there. We want to be on your side. We want to protect you. We want to support you. We want to, be kind to you. We want to love you. And not just physically, emotionally. Reminds me of this incident I had on a date where, well, it wasn't a date. This was my girlfriend at this point, and she brought her best friend on the date with us. So it was the three of us at dinner, and her friend was angry at men. And unfortunately, she wasn't directing her anger toward the individual man that displeased her. She started casting a wide net. And one of the things she said, because she was really upset about the dating scene at that point, and she's like, all men want is sex. All men want is sex. And I said, all right. I said, take a look behind me into the dining room. What do you see? She looked and she said, I see people sitting at tables. I said, right. You see a bunch of men and women sitting together at a table. Are they having sex right now? She said, very funny. I said, they're not, are they? Right. So calm yourself. Right. Here's the thing, and this is an oversimplification, but I don't think it's completely unfair. Um, Men and women want the same thing, which is to be with someone. We just approach that in a different way. Right. So to use Patrice O'Neill's metaphor, uh, men build from the bottom up, women build from the top down. Meaning women, and again, this is very generic, and I'm quoting someone else right now, but women are looking for, character traits and qualities and this, that, and the other thing, right? All the typical stuff we hear all the time. 6 figures, 6 feet, strong, protective, all that stuff. Fine. And men work from the bottom up, which is a physical attraction. But in the middle, there's the relationship. That's what we're both aiming for, right? So I don't fault women for the way they approach things. And I don't think it's necessary to fault men for the way they approach things. Like I find it interesting that when women are expressing their displeasure about men, which of course they have every right to do, if a man says, well, it's not all men, that answer is roundly rejected every time. Every time I've seen it. And yet, when I talk about women, the first thing I hear is, well, it's not all women. Right? And of course, I agree with you. And when I speak, I don't say all women do this, all women do that. That's silly. I say there's some generic stuff, there's some statistical stuff, there's some probabilities that are stronger than others. But of course, not all women do everything, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is because earlier on a post of mine where I was, exposing MAGA hypocrisy, a woman decided to come on and enumerate all the things. And I think it would probably be smart to read it specifically, so I'm not leaving anything out. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right. So, oops, I lost it. There we go. Damn it. Keep pressing the wrong spot. There we go. More. That's what I need. So she said, men make up half the world's population, yet they account for over 9% of violent crimes, nearly all mass, boom booms, most wars, dictatorships, and authoritarian regimes, the vast majority of domestic stuff, and contextual asphalt, since I can't speak like an adult because of TikTok, I apologize. Most environmental destruction enabled by corporate and political power, most attempt to roll back rights. And I continued the list with, and almost all the inventions, construction, maintenance, security, protection, most dangerous jobs. I noticed you left out a few pertinent facts. You're welcome. So Of course, at no time did I tell her she was wrong, because she isn't. But why is that the approach? Why is that so acceptable? You know, like, we both stated facts in that exchange, and then she came back to say, "Well, those good deeds don't absolve the bad ones." And I'm like, "Yes, but you're speaking as if every man only does bad things, and this is a childish mentality." So I would love for some of the women to come up and let's talk about this. And I want to hear your perspective. If you believe that my perspective is either wrong or incomplete or needs more information, I'm happy to hear it. Um, okay, let's see. Sam, you just said your opinion is coming from someone that will be celebrating 20 years this week. Celebrating what? Whoops. Hold on. So, Sam, I'm going to invite you up. Okay, wedding anniversary. So I'll come up. Blue, if you'd like to, of course you can come up. I've invited you. Who else is here? Oops. Hey, Sam, what's going on?
Yoda.
So you said good
Oh,
company, good conversation. If the goal, if the goal is the schmexual stuff, is priority. Priority is wrong. Why is that?
well, if you're gonna find someone and you're gonna be just a truly genuine person, the schmexual thing, that's not the priority.
Well, you said the
If
priority
you're
is
gonna
wrong.
treat
I'm
if
asking
you
you, why
if
is it wrong?
because if you're gonna treat a woman right, that shouldn't be your priority.
Well, okay. So you're introducing the concept of should and shouldn't,
Okay.
and um, I find that to be an inadequate line of thought, because saying something should be a certain way suggests that there's something absolute, that in the way things can be. So so
So
so
I
why
think it comes
why
back to
why is it wrong for a
I
man to prioritize his physical attraction to a woman?
because that's not how they should be treated.
No
And
one
and
no
it
one was
goes back
talking about
and it
treatment.
goes back to the
No one's
line.
talking about treatment. Hold on. Let's define our
Okay.
terms.
Sure.
No one was talking about any treatment.
Okay.
You're talking about a mindset. So how a mindset has nothing to do necessarily with treatment. It can be connected, but none of that is absolute. So let's go back to our days on the plains of the Serengeti, right? Where before there were all these societal rules, which most of them are made up, and before it was like before the Bible told us that our urges were wrong, even though somehow God designed us this way, but somehow it's wrong to feel this way. So, do you think that there were all these rules back in those times, and would humans have propagated if it was so complicated to for people to get together?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
those.
then,
Yeah,
so then, so
I mean,
then, what you're acknowledging is that our design is appropriate. So if that was our design then and it was right, why is it wrong now?
hold on one second. Let me make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So back in back in the past, you're saying that it was for a male to objectify a
I didn't
woman
use
in
the
that
word
way.
objectify. Why are you introducing that word when I didn't say that?
Well, it's just a word that came top of my head. I'm
Okay.
not
But you're introducing an idea that I didn't speak about. So no, that's not part of
okay.
what I was saying.
Can you say that question again?
I
Because
might.
I
Let's.
think it's I think I agree with the premise that it's all men till no men. So if a person like me is to be able to treat a woman as a person, as a man, you know, and then there's other groups of men that can't do that.
Okay.
And
So
so
we're
and
getting a little
so if
convoluted. So let me
okay,
try again,
that's
and then I'll move on to blue.
sure.
Sam, is the fact that a man is physically attracted to a woman wrong somehow?
No.
Okay, excellent. Blue, what are your thoughts? How are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent.
Good.
Always happy
I
to
th-
have you as a guest on my panel.
well, thanks for inviting me up. I always appreciate that. And like I told you before, it helps me to learn to communicate this way on this platform.
There
So
you go.
I appreciate that. I kind of get where Sam's coming from.
Mhm.
He's trying to say he has a respect, and if I'm putting words in your mouth, Sam, correct me, please. But what I think I'm interpreting it as is that he has a love and a respect for women, as he has stated, been together with his wife. It's their anniversary, and that it's frustrating, or he does see a select group of males that don't feel or act the same way that he does.
Fair enough.
And I
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
that's
Sam will
correct.
be able to
That is
speak for
actually correct.
himself. So tell me what you think about what we're talking about.
me.
Yeah, you, Blue. Yes.
Um,
Sorry, I got into pronoun confusion there for a second. I apologize.
I, in my life, I have experienced some things, but I have a way of dissociating or isolating the situation and not generalizing into it being all men that way based off that scenario. As far as, let's say, relationships go or male friends, even. There's things that have happened in my life, and statistics show a lot of women's lives.
Hmm.
But I choose to take it as a one lesson, but also I learn what to look out for and that I don't like in certain qualities in individuals. And I am always on high alert, which is never fun for any woman. But I'm learning that most women are always looking over their left, their right, behind when they're just walking from their car to their grocery store when we're in a vulnerable, I mean, it could be daylight. Without digressing, the biggest qualm I'm struggling with, as far as there are good men, there are bad men. I've gone on a live, and this maggot in the comments was going off about women should be in the kitchen, and we're so over it. Like, it doesn't even insult us anymore. We're like, oh, okay, well, you're just identifying as a very low educated, judgmental racist, and I don't really want to invest my energy into that because we're not going to achieve a an end game or a meeting in the middle, or it's just rhetoric. It's just noise to get whatever's off his chest to get a reaction, and that might make him feel good. I don't have the energy for that. So I would prefer to have conversations like this live where you do listen and you're very fair. You'll take you're not swayed one way or the other. You have your thoughts and opinions and you will question things, and I respect that about you because you can come off tough sometimes, but you're not. You're just trying to understand, and it's a very a cool place to be, that devil's advocate, if you will,
Yeah,
in
and
every
luckily those two
scenario.
things are not mutually exclusive. I can be both.
Exactly. But I think that my issue is in the career that I'm in the industry I'm in, I wish more men who are incredibly supportive and nice and treat you like an equal, whether they're above you or below you, would stand up for you when you weren't in the room. Because this good old boys club in corporate America is incredibly difficult for women. And I've seen it. I've worked for some really big companies, well-known companies, and I see it, in a micro way, in a small group setting to a larger setting, and just, and a lot of it's blind knowledge, that it's blind bias. They don't realize they're even doing it. They can't read the room from the perspective of the woman, and I try to take women under my arm and to help them and how to handle and interact in those types of situations. But there are many women who start going after each other rather than uniting in those situations, which those good old boy groups love. And so therefore it becomes ruthless sometimes in the
Right.
corporate world,
So
and it's making me.
let me refocus this a little bit. I hear everything you're saying and I agree with it. I want to kind of lead in a slightly different direction. So I'll ask you the same. I'll ask you two questions. I'll ask you the same question that I asked Sam, and then I'll ask you another one. So, is it wrong for a man to be motivated by his physical desire for a woman?
Can you rephrase the question? I'm a little. A man being
So,
motivated
so,
to go like
so, uh,
hit on a woman?
relationships all start the same, right? With attraction.
Hmm.
So, is that attraction wrong?
No,
Okay.
I think it's innate.
Because that's the picture that I keep hearing. We keep getting faulted for what we want
Mm,
as men, um, but interestingly enough, women never get faulted for what they want, and they shouldn't get faulted for what they want. I mean, or I'm not going to say shouldn't. I don't think it's productive to fault anybody for what they want. And when men and women are,
I
they
see.
share a motivation in the Venn diagram. They, it has to start with an attraction, right? And there are different motivations behind that attraction. So again, generically speaking, and we know this because of exhaustive polling data, and nothing is more accurate. Nothing in the world is more accurate than dating than dating apps, right? The because that doesn't, because most polls, just to veer off for a moment, most polls are based on what people want to believe about themselves, right? And they don't always reflect the truth of the person. What's great about dating apps is that they show what people are doing. So that's the reality, right? So we know that generically speaking, a woman's motivations when she is attracted to a man revolve around financial means. Um, Usually, that's the old saying, six figures, 6 foot tall and 6 inches. That's colloquially how people say it. But also protection physically comes into that as well. And this is not my opinion. This is literally what all the data shows, right? And so no one questions a woman's motivation for her attraction to the man. So why is it that, you know, I can read in the chat that, oh, it's wrong for a man to be motivated by his physical attraction to her?
So it's two answers. So one is, I think there's a very fine line between being attracted to a woman and objectifying her or making her feel a certain way. And I think that that line gets grayed sometimes in how it's interpreted, whereas you might be
Sure.
admiring, the woman might be thinking you're objectifying and you're looking at her less than. And again, that comes down to delivery. The
Right.
second part
Just
is
in like
that
the same way that a woman can make a man feel like an ATM. I got you.
absolutely right. Here's the other thing with that, though. I have never wanted to be with a man because of their money. I make the money. I make well over six figures, and it's not a quality that's important to me because I can pay my own bills and I'm okay taking care of someone if that's the situation, but it's just not a quality that's important to me, nor has it ever been. And I would almost hope that not all men think that, because that sucks, because it's probably the last thing I look
That's what
for.
we're told over and over again. And you know, of course, that's why I'm very careful with my language. When I put out a statistic, I specify that this is generic and this is the widest net. But of course, there's going to be variations in all statistics, right? So there are going to be women that say that money's not important to them. Some will be honest about that, some won't be. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. But
But my
so yeah,
situation, my situation is more around, can the man handle a strong, independent woman that works her ass off? That's where the issue often comes, because there's an embedded thing in them that provider is male and woman might not be. And look, I've been lucky with my partner who passed away. He was wonderful, and I made a lot more than him. He was a merchant marine. He didn't make very much, but he was still an alpha male, and but still gentle giant kind of way. And we had this. It worked. We had respect for each other. So I felt safe and protected, but I also felt safe and protected to be authentic enough to be kind of that go-getter, and to be, be able to create without being laughed at, or be made feel like that I'm making them feel bad because I make more. And that's hard sometimes for a lot of men. I'm learning,
sure. I got
not
you.
all.
I got you. So before we start talking to Danny, Donna B said something interesting. Women are often held to different physical standards, objectivity, and particularly with aging. Yeah, and men are often held to standards with regard to their income and their height. So I get it. Absolutely. So Danny, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you, Yoda?
I'm good. I am operating 90% off of caffeine this evening. But
Well, that's not all
I'm
bad.
glad.
So,
No. Usually I do my caffeine once in the when I first wake up, and that's it. I have essentially what's 2 cups, because it's like 16 ounces of coffee. So I have 2 cups of coffee when I first get up, and then no more after that. But today was one of those days where I needed the extra caffeine. So, what are your thoughts on the subject?
well, from an old man perspective, because Lord knows like yourself, I've been married several times, and I've had relationships, good, bad, and indifferent. I'll
By the
honestly
way,
say
you've
my
been you've
first.
been married several times. I've been married twice.
Okay, well, I've been married 3 times.
I
Okay,
know.
so all right, okay. I'll be honest. I've been married 3 times. Okay. 23 years the first time, and I'm on 28 on Carol and 2 in the middle. So it was 2 years.
Spectacular.
So anyway, I'll have to admit my first marriage, other than I thought I really loved her, and she was my high school sweetheart, and she was very beautiful young lady. I mean, she was 18. I was 19. Wow, she was 17. I was 18, 19 almost. Actually, when we got married, I was 20 and she was 18. So I got that straight now. But it was a lot of physical attraction between the two of us, because I wasn't a bad looking guy when I was younger myself, and pretty buffed up because I was a meat cutter. So before I went in the army, so I was semi muscular, more than most men at the time. And there was a lot of physical attraction. Rosemary was a real real beautiful girl. I have to admit. I mean, I was lucky, and my daughter Amy shows a lot of her. That's how pretty, why she's as beautiful as she is. She took
So
after her
it
mother.
almost sounds like this. You started off with the physical attraction, but somehow that managed to become a decades long marriage that produced children. So look at that. I guess physical attraction ain't all bad. Let me
No,
read another Donna B comment, and I appreciate that you're commenting, Donna. The patriarchy set the difference for income. I don't feel women set that standard. Of course, because for some reason there's no accountability on the women's side. There's only accountability on the men's side. We're in this world alone, and women don't have any involvement. I get that. I get that perspective a lot. So anyway, Sam, now you've had a few more minutes to consider what we've said and some of the additional comments. And by the way, folks, thank you for the 17,000 likes. Keep it going. We're on our way to 100,000. If I make it to 2 hours, I don't even know if I'll be able to, but I'm hoping to. So thank you so much for keeping on tapping. Sam, any other thoughts?
No, blue covered my feelings. It wasn't, I'm not saying, sorry, I've kind of imbibed a little much, but I'm having a little trouble.
It's okay.
But she covered by what she said and tried to put the words she put into my mouth were exactly what I wanted to say.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm
Excellent.
not. Yeah, for example, my wife, when we first met, she was graduating college. I was working part time at a Blockbuster. So when we started dating, I, I ended up saying I got to do something better for my life, and I joined the Navy. Didn't quite work out, but our love grew together much more, and then she was able to progress in her career. And right now, she's almost a doctor. And I became disabled 8 years ago. But so she's the breadwinner. I have, and she has the way she supported me. I it's tough to talk about because she's she's amazing,
That's a beautiful thing,
and
man.
and she's been there when I was struggling through my Navy career, and then when shit hit the fan. I mean, I chose someone good, and not in just a monetary way, but in an emotional, physical way. And that's anything thinking about. And when we first started dating, yes, I was attracted, but my goal as a man was not to dwell on that while we went through the dating process, but more of a I want to know my potential partner. And and I don't want. It sounds like I'm bragging, but I chose a good one.
It ain't bragging if it's true, right?
I say brag away because that's what everybody would want. I think what you have at the end of the day, where there are things that I am just not good at, and there are some things that I'm oddly really good at that people might say is a male role, and right now I have to do both. And my neighbor said, like, how do you do all this? Like, I'm on the roof, I'm outside, I'm just kind of holding it together, and that's the dream what you have, and to tell that story opens the door of hope, especially for people who might have lost someone or had a bad experience. Just by hearing that, they can know that it does exist where you can find that yin and yang. You you have something that each other doesn't have, and you respect each other for that. And when you come together and can communicate, which is the number one most important thing in my opinion,
But
and maybe work through your past traumas together and grow together and not beat each other up in the meantime of doing that, and can stand that test of time. You know, someone in the comments made a comment like growing into realness. Love is just it's I get that. I get that because it's a love beyond that first infatuation. It's a much deeper rooted plant that grows together.
and at the same time, I found her, but in our likes and dislikes, we are polar opposites.
Those are
But
minor
but
details.
when it comes to an emotional connection,
Mhm.
perfect match.
Right. So
And maybe
that's size over impact, right? So the list of what you don't have in common is longer, but the thing that you do have in common is much more substantial.
Yes, that's correct.
Cynthia in the comments. Oh my God, sometimes my husband looks at me like I'm an alien.
Well, I do that to her
I love
and
that.
pray daily.
We all do. So I have a question for all three of you. I'll start from the bottom up this time. So Sam, have you ever been hurt by love?
Yes,
How
very
about
much
you?
so.
How about you, Blue? Have you ever been hurt by love?
Yes.
How about you, Danny? Have you ever been hurt by love?
Is the Pope Catholic?
You're all wrong. You're all 100% wrong. You've never been hurt by love.
Okay. All
And
right.
I'll prove it to you. Love can't
Okay.
possibly hurt you. What you were hurt by was if you tell me your stories, I bet you it has to do with either someone cheating on you, someone hurting your feelings, someone betraying you, whatever it is, someone breaking up with you, whatever it is. That's what you were hurt by. You were not hurt by love. No one ever is hurt by love.
Okay.
Because love wouldn't
Makes sense. Actually, it
I'm
makes
sorry, Blue.
sense. I
What'd you say,
can't.
Blue?
because love wouldn't technically do those things to you.
Yeah, love can't. That you know what I love about love is that it's easy. No one ever says I worked in love. They say I fell in love, right? Falling is easy. It's easier than standing, certainly, right? No one ever said, yeah, I sat down and I strategized and I made a plan and I executed all parts of the plan and then I was in love. Nobody says that. They just fall in love, all right? We are wired for love. We are literally wired for love. Our DNA courses all sorts of chemicals through our bodies, so much so that the brain waves for love are exactly like the brain waves for insanity. And how many songs or books have you heard with a phrase similar to crazy in love, right? And so what that tells us is that nature conspires to create love between people. And of course, love is not limited to a romantic entanglement, to a romantic situation. Love, you could love everything. People love cereal. I love food, obviously. Just look at me. You could tell that. Right? But we love people, we love pets, we love films, we love restaurants. I mean, the list is endless because love is as endless as hydrogen, right? Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and I think tied with it is love.
Or maybe the experience you went through, if you can do the, what do they call it, shadow work, you realize that they couldn't be what you wanted in your mind. They couldn't fit the bar of what you thought love was. And maybe the experience was to teach you that you needed to find self-love within you. before you can offer the love that you have to share it with someone else. So maybe it's our own faults
You just
sometimes.
described the plot of Eat, Pray, Love.
Hey, it's a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, it was all right. But there was
You loved it.
one part of the book that my second ex-wife read to me. I don't know. Let me see if I can find it.
I actually have one thing to interject really quick
Sure.
by what Blue said. Finding love in any format, that's a never ending process.
How so?
You can fall out of love and find it again.
Maybe.
For
I
example,
like to
like
think that love is always there, but sometimes gets clouded over by other things. But you could be right.
oh no, yeah, I agree with that. I won't disagree with that. But for example, and you were in with Danny's live where I mentioned my type 2 diabetes diagnosis and my accomplishment with that. But when I got diagnosed, yeah, I hated myself. I'm being disabled and going through every little bit of things that I've been going through for the past 8 years. That was a moment that said, "Do something." And with me making the progress over the past year, and I've kept my type 2 kind of quiet to all of my family, except for my mom and dad. But the all family and friends, I didn't want to say, "Hey, I got too big and I got type 2." I didn't want to do that. I was not proud. And being able to take that diagnosis seriously and make the forward progress that I've had, it's it's shown me how to love myself again. That
It's
I can
excellent.
do it. I have, I'm nowhere near perfect health. I'll never physically be able to do a lot of things again, but I'm not carrying literally the extra weight. I'm going back to my pre-injury weight,
That's
and
excellent.
that's
You said
so
you
it's
lost like over
so
90
to
pounds?
90 pounds as of this past week.
It's phenomenal.
1 year. In 1 year.
Good job. That's awesome.
So,
So
Blue, since you talked about that process of, discovering that maybe it wasn't the right time, place, or person for you, or whatever the case may be, it reminded
Mhm.
me of this thing because I have roundly rejected the concept of soulmate because it sounded goofy to me. Because it's like, oh, you just happen to meet your soulmate in the town that you grew up in and in the high school that you went to or in the job where you're sitting near each other. I mean, isn't it convenient that your soulmate is usually close by to you, right? So I had a cynical attitude about that. I changed my attitude completely about it when my second ex-wife read me this section that I'm now going to read for you folks. It's mercifully short, so here we go. And this is from Eat, Pray, Love. People think a soulmate is your perfect fit, and that's what everyone wants. But a true soulmate is a mirror, the person who shows you everything that is holding you back, the person who brings you to your own attention so you can change your life. A true soulmate is probably the most important person you'll ever meet because they tear down your walls and smack you awake. But to live with a soulmate forever? Nah, too painful. Soulmates, they come into your life just to reveal another layer of yourself to you and then leave. A soulmate's purpose is to shake you up, tear apart your ego a little bit, show you your obstacles and addictions, break your heart open so new light can get in, make you so desperate and out of control that you have to transform your life, then introduce you to your spiritual master by Elizabeth Gilbert. How fucking amazing is that?
That's just beautiful. I mean, that's as raw as it gets. And I don't mean to digress in any way, but I'm thinking like that's why people are like falling, like they love their AI because their AI is a reflection of them, but with a positive spin. So like their higher self, if like their best version of themselves is what it tries to mirror. And so it's kind of interesting. Like you do want to have that mirror, but at the same token, you want to be able to still grow and still evolve and be respected to that and kind of grow together. And it's something in the comment I just read that that Cynthia said too, was that it makes me so angry because I'm so damn strong, and that she was codependent. And that's an interesting comment because I'm very independent, but I feel I pretend to be so damn strong all the time to where I cross boundaries of being aggressive, and I don't intend to. But if I'm comfortable enough and I trust the people I'm with, I'm actually a kind of a big mush. I cry. I I just put that mask on as a survival tactic because it's helped me maintain what I'm supposed to, I guess, as an independent person in a world where there aren't many Yodas, or not as many Yodas right now with the rhetoric. And that when I feel comfortable, then I can let them know that I can speak well, I can get my opinion out, but I can also admit when I'm wrong, and that it's that safe space that you create with a person. And if you can find that in someone, even if it's a friend or if it's a live like this, that's a special interaction. And that's what keeps me coming back to your lives specifically, is because you can be tough, but in a, like a tough love way. But I still feel like you gain respect for people and you have their backs. And that's kind of like the mirror thing, where when you break it, you allow the space for questions to me, where it makes me want to break things down and analyze them in my mind to a different way I wouldn't have normally thought.
It's music
that
to my
makes sense.
ears. Well, here's the thing. So that question I asked you about if love hurt you, that's a sample of how I coach. Because,
Brilliant.
I have a particular style. It doesn't come from accreditations and certificates and all that shit. I don't call myself a life coach because I think that's the douchiest fucking thing to call yourself. I know that my strength is emotional management because that's what I had to learn for myself. And I started in 1987 and have been working on it every single day of my life since then.
Amazing.
And I'm going to tell you a story of my second ex-wife. So get comfortable. Because
Wait,
this
before you do
is
that,
why the fact that she delivered this part of the book to me, it was on, I had invited her. There's this Australian coach, a female Australian coach that I met on Facebook. We developed a very loving and caring and respectful relationship as peers. So she was the first woman that I ever interviewed on my podcast, and it's still the most viewed podcast that I ever did. And she, we were on, she was on my podcast several times. And then one day I was talking about my second ex-wife because I talk about her all the time. And she was like, I'd like to talk to her. I said, I could set that up. Let's do a podcast episode. And so the three of us talked for one of my podcast episodes. And this was when my ex-wife brought me this amazing, because I didn't watch the the film at first. Sorry, I suddenly slipped into 1928. Lupus. Before I get to my story, let me just welcome quick and then. Hello, Lupus. How are you? Hello,
Hi, Loops. I know you.
Lupus. Are you there? Guess not. Might have been accidental. All right. So, all right. So, when she read this to me, I completely changed my thought process behind the soulmate thing. Now I believe in the concept of soulmates, but only by this definition, not the goofy shit that people mostly say, right? So, she and I met on a blind date in 1999. It was actually, we just had the anniversary, the 26th anniversary of that blind date this past July 1st. And moved her in like 4 months. And then about a year and a half after that, we got married. I did this one differently because my first marriage was like City Hall, Red Lobster for the honeymoon. I had no money. I was 20 years old, blah, 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 blah. This time I had money and we did it upright. We did the fancy wedding and the all the works, even went to pre-Cana. As much as I can't stand the Catholic Church, in order for us to be married in a Catholic church, we had to do the pre-Cana class, which is the goofiest fucking time I've ever spent in my life. But whatever, I did it because I loved her. And fast forward, one day I realized after a few years of feeling this way that it was time for us to part. And I'm unusual because I'm 2 for 2 on ending marriages. Mostly women are the ones that ask for divorce. It's like 67% of the time. Standardly, if a woman is college educated, it goes up to like 92%. But I just defy the odds for whatever reason. And she was not happy about that. She did not want to be divorced, and the vitriol spewed freely at that point, and we had a very contentious time. But here's where the story gets very interesting, and this is where what I just read becomes very vivid for me. So 2 years after we divorced, I had moved down to Florida for what I thought was going to be 3 months because my mother told me she was starting to forget things and she was concerned and wanted me to help her out. So I was happy to go down there and do that. And it turned out that she had Alzheimer's. So she was right in her suspicions. And while I was there, that 3 months wound up turning into 2.5 years because that's where they found my brain tumor. And that was April 2012. And I was told that it could end me. And I assumed that I was going to end because I just figured this is how my luck is going to go. This is it for me, right? So I sent her an email in the car ride on the way to the hospital because my mother was driving. I wrote her an email basically saying this is what the doctor told me, and if this is it, I just want you to know this, that, and the other thing. And again, this was 2 years after we had divorced, and we weren't talking at the time because she was so angry at me. But she was at my side the next day. She flew down to see me to help me through that. And so the relationship that we developed after that was a whole new thing. Like I joke with her all the time. I'm like, I love you. I just don't like you enough to live with you. Right. Although I have a feeling that as we get older, we're probably going to wind up deciding to move in together near the end. So yeah, I know my goal has to be reset. Don't worry. I already reset it once. I'll get to it eventually, but thank you for the
Do you think
reminder.
do you
Go
think you
ahead.
subconsciously pulled away for that 2-year time, almost subconsciously, because
You were protecting her from the pain you knew you were gonna. No,
Nah,
I'm just curious.
nah, she was pissed off at me and I didn't want to talk to her. So that's all that was, you know. Hold on, let me let this person in. Do.
Big one I'm working on, I think, in general, relationships and, friendships and even work relationships. I tend to be one of the people that overly am positive, and to the point where they call it toxic positivity. And as I peel that back, it's like that feeling of wanting to be liked. And then when I peel that back, it's like, well, what is it in me that I don't like, that I feel the need to be that way? And it's interesting since I've been doing that quote. I don't know if it's shadow work or not, if you would call it that, but I've
I
been
wouldn't.
able
I actually
to.
can't stand that term, but I get it. I
I
mean,
don't know what it
the
means.
meaning of it is more important than the goofy terminology, but yeah.
I agree, but I'm seeing things from a different perspective because there are narcissists who feed off that need to want to be liked or want to make other people feel comfortable all the time. They'll keep asking and asking and asking, and that's when it can turn really dangerous. And the more we're educated on types of personalities, I can now, maybe it's an age thing, but pull myself from situations and before I react or say anything and offer my energy, to just kind of think first before speaking and directing, just giving free energy away. And that's very new. That's only been in like the last maybe year that I've been able to focus on that and choose. Like I keep saying, every one of your lives is, where energy goes, where energy flows. If I'm saying all positive things on people's comments, I get all positive back. If I have a negative thing to say about something that could hurt someone's feeling, I will get a whole bunch of negative back. And so I tend to try to lean towards positive, but there is a line where I can't be overly, because that opens me up to be vulnerable to people who might take advantage of that, who aren't, let's say, as kind of cool as you or Sam or Danny, even from his
Thank you,
story.
Tanya. Stop yelling at me. What's with the all caps? Just kidding. I appreciate the reminder. I will definitely reset it soon. So, by the way, Jude, try again. For some reason, you couldn't connect. So, if you want to come up, please do. So let's take a pause for a couple things. Number one, 31,000, spectacular. We have 70,000 to go, or I guess 69,000 to go specifically. So let's keep tapping the screen, making it happen. Oh, okay, Lupus again. Let's see if this loads up and we can hear. Oh, nope. That was another accidental tap. So either Sam or Danny. Well, Danny, we haven't heard from you in a minute. So Danny, what are your thoughts?
Oh, you had to wake me up from my nap. Okay.
That's so always a
Just when,
danger on these long lives, right?
yeah, just when you said you didn't talk to your ex for 2 years, I haven't talked to mine since 1993.
Hmm,
So, and my first wife, she vehemently hates me. So that's the way it goes. I live down the road from her, and
hmm.
I don't even go by the house because it pisses me off.
Sure.
So
Well,
I just,
that old saying, right? That old joke. Why get married when you can just find a woman you hate and give her a house?
well, that's what I loved her, but I gave her a house anyway, but she took it. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But long story short, I can see where you're coming from, and I think, be honest with you, since you guys are such good friends, you and your second wife, there, I would think it would be a Lord blessing that toward the later years of your life that you would be together, because trust
Yeah.
me, it's if like I keep saying to everybody, when I married Carol, I married my best friend.
Right.
And your second wife's your best friend, one of
Yeah.
your better
Absolutely.
friend.
Yeah. Yeah. No
And
doubt. That's very significant to me. Like, it's been 3 years since I've been physically
No, you
intimate
gotta
with
be
a
able to
woman, and
make
I
them
don't
laugh.
miss it at all. Because I had a 40-year career of just banging the shit out of everybody, so I'm fine. I've got a lot. I've got a lot stocked up in my bank account, right?
Well, I'm
So
glad you got it out of your system,
oh,
okay?
I
Because
sure did. I sure did, and then some. But uh, I think that that lays a great foundation because she's kind of getting to that point too. She's only 2 years younger than me, and she's kind of, I mean, I think she's unofficially been at that point for a while. Because I love her, she loves me. We say it all the time. When we text each other, because we do mostly texting, since we're on opposite sides of the clock. But we get together once or twice a year for like lunch or dinner or something like that. And uh, we when we're on the phone, we end most phone calls by saying, I love you and that kind of stuff. And so I think that with that physical part of it kind of off the table, I think it would make it a lot easier to live with her as if we are fortunate enough to continue to grow older. So good stuff. So, Sam, any other thoughts? Still there, Sam?
I'm here. Yeah,
There
I
you go.
don't have anything else to add.
All
Just
right.
it's about time for me to call it a night.
Well, thank you so
Sam,
much
what are you
for
going to do for
joining.
your anniversary? Oops, I'm sorry. Yoddah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
what was that?
Good question. When's your anniversary?
Wednesday.
Oh, nice. So if for
Wednesday,
some reason I
28.
don't speak to you before then, happy anniversary.
Well, thanks.
All
Thanks.
right.
We're looking forward to it.
And
D-
and
you
and
know,
I want to thank you for something else. Like there's this mythology that I understand about how men are emotionally, but it's mostly wrong. Men are very emotional. We've just been taught not to show it in most places. I've been crying with my friends since I was a teenager. So like I've always communicated my emotions and that's how all my male relationships have been, right? So I never understood this, but I get it. Like that's how we're bred, that's how we're taught. Don't show it. So I appreciate that you were willing to be so vulnerable and honest with us this evening.
oh, I mean, over the past few years, the amount of times I had to pretty much grab my wife and say, let me go. Let me go. And just let me say what I want to say, even out if it's so foul and negative. Just let me get it out. And she lets me.
It's good
So
stuff. Excellent.
I've got a great girl with me. So,
That's a beautiful thing. Well, have a great night, brother. Talk to you soon.
yeah. Good night, guys.
Yeah,
Yoddah, I have a question for you.
please.
So one of my most favorite philosophers is Khalil Gibran. I don't know if you've
Yes.
ever read him.
Oh, yes.
There's one thing he says, and I have it written down so I don't paraphrase. It's we choose our joys and hold on. We choose our joys and our sorrows long before we experience them. And it's kind of like what made me think of it is when you said that you and your wife will probably end up growing old together, call it. It's like you having this innate feeling that you understood the oscillations of both of you and you went away from each other, but you're coming back together in due time. Do you believe that quote to be true?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to it. Um, Before I forget, for those of you who were so diligently reminding me, I have a new live goal. It's one coin each. Have at it. Um, yeah, I love Khalil Gibran. As a matter of fact, the Celestine Prophecy is basically a ripoff of his work.
I
you
totally
know,
agree.
which that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually enjoyed the Celestine Prophecy a lot. There was this one part that I really love that informs a lot of how I am now with regard to relationships. It said something to the effect that most humans are like the letter C. They're incomplete. Like an O is complete, right? But a C is incomplete, and we're a lot of C's looking to connect to other C's, hoping that we'll make an O out of that, right? And of course, that doesn't work. But
Or E.
there I found I think the thing that I really liked the most from the Celestine Prophecy was the concept of control drama, because that was the first time that I understood a little bit about how I interact with other people. I mean, I had been learning because like when I like reading How to Win Friends and Influence People changed my life immensely, right? And it's still, it's been 80, like probably 90 plus years that it's been out, and it's still in like the top 100 books at Amazon. Oh, wow, you guys are getting close to that live goal. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Um, so like, yeah, that control drama thing was really good, but How to Win Friends and Influence People. Um, I, when I was a young man, before I read this book, people had a tendency to call me a know-it-all, which was completely baffling to me because I've never felt that way. Right? Like never, not for a moment. I've never sat around thinking, "Oh, I know so much." Or I'm the opposite. I'm a talking monkey. I have a thimble full of knowledge and an ocean of information, and I still feel that way now, with all due respect to monkeys. And when I read the book, what I realized is I didn't have to change what I was saying. I just had to change how I was saying it. And ever since then, I've never heard it again. Kind of interesting, right? How, and that's what life comes down to very often. It's like, because for the most part, I think we all want the same thing, basically, right? From after the survival part, right? After like food, water, shelter, whatever, protecting yourself from the elements, protecting yourself from predators. Then it's like, all right, well, now we want companionship at some level, right? Whether it's, some people are satisfied with friend companions, some people, uh, or I would say most people gravitate toward some kind of romantic involvement. We want to love, we want to be loved, et cetera, et cetera. And very often we put up the roadblocks that prevent that from happening. So, Khalil Gibran, Rumi, or all of these people that, talk about these other aspects of ourselves. I'd say Deepak Chopra, but he's like only right like 1 out of 10 times. um, but whoever it is, whatever can enlighten you and as you talked about earlier, help you to see things from a different perspective. I think is all beneficial.
And you're right, though. You do communicate beautifully, very
Thank you.
eloquently, and
Thank you.
it is definitely learned, especially if you come from an Italian reactionary family. From my from my perspective, and how to not be that reactive and to be authentic. Because I used to
Yeah.
actually be shy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I wonder,
Me
like
too.
in younger, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I would
Nobody
have
believes that,
never
but
thought
I
of it.
used to be painfully shy when I was a child, even
Me too.
amongst my family members.
Yeah, but I somehow, in order to survive in the family or be heard, you had to be loud, and so I'm trying to unlearn that, if you will, and become more articulate. And I think it's a big lesson for younger couples going through something and they can't communicate it. And whether that may be because they don't have the worldly experience to put it to articulation, and maybe it comes with age. But I think they say that the biggest, I don't think it's actually infidelity, it's communication is the reason why people get so heated in arguments and neither one's hearing the other and they're screaming, and then toxic traits come out and things are said that can't be unsaid, and it can spiral out of control. And I think that that comes also a little bit with age, if you're willing to learn to be a better communicator. But that's a piece of advice that I would give to my younger friends that are in relationships is, if you try to put yourself in that other person's perspective and what it feels like for them, and if also they struggle articulating it, like what Sam was saying earlier, he's like, I just let me get this out. And I could picture him saying that to his wife, and she's probably like, going a million miles per hour. And they say that the way
Do
that
women do that? I hadn't noticed.
they say that neurological studies say that we communicate from our reason and our creativity, our right brain and our left brain. And women, this is a great analogy, women have multiple lanes across the center of their brain connecting the right and left, and they can jump from one to the left to the right to the left to the right, whereas men have one.
Yeah, just like a schizophrenic. Congratulations.
It sounds like roundabouts.
And sometimes that car breaks down on the side of the road. So yeah, you know what's interesting is that 100% communication is the key to any relationship you're in, whether it's with your friends, your family, your coworkers, your employers, and certainly your romantic partner. But what's funny is that wherever you go, whether it's to someone you know that's a trusted friend, or to a professional, or to, a coach or a guru or whatever, and they go, communication is the key. You got to communicate. What the fuck does that mean? How come nobody tells you how to communicate? They just tell you to communicate. Because you said it perfectly. It's a skill. It's a learned skill. I wasn't a good communicator when I started out. When I think back to my first 10 or 15 public speeches, I was a train wreck. When I first got into sales, I knew nothing. When people objected, I was like, why? I didn't know how to overcome objections. I just I'm going to do my presentation and you need to say yes at the end of this because I got nothing else, And so the same thing happened in my romantic relationships. It's like, I didn't know how to communicate. And I'm glad that I took it upon myself to get interpersonal development, because what I realized is nobody was going to teach me that. I had to teach myself how to be a good communicator. Now, my need to be a good communicator was twofold. Yes, of course, I wanted to be a better friend. I wanted to be a better son to my mother. I wanted to be, a better sibling to my siblings. I wanted to be a better partner to my partner. But mostly it came from not wanting to starve. I had to make a living, and I chose sales. And if you're not a good communicator in sales, you're pretty well fucked. Mm-hmm. So that's what drove my initial thrust into being a better communicator. But then, of course, once you get good at communicating, it can apply everywhere in your life. Mm-hmm. And it's helped me immensely, and it made all the difference. So that's, for anyone that says they're a coach or whatever, most coaches are very disappointing to me, because most of the bullshit they say you could get from reading a fucking Hallmark card, so enough with that shit, oh, happy wife, happy life. Shut the fuck up. But a real coach is going to give you the tools. This is how you communicate, and it really has made all the difference in my life on every single level. It made me a better father to my son. And that was the job that I wanted to do better than any other, so I'm so grateful that at a fairly young age, because my life was a train wreck up until I was 23. And, and I didn't even think I was going to make it to 23. But once I did, and I found myself in a situation where I was like, this either has to get better or I'm not going to make it. And that's since then, this September's 38 years that I've been working on this stuff. And, there's still work to do, but thankfully, in the first 5 years is where I did all the heavy lifting for the most important stuff. And then after that, it was like improvement and refinement and, you know, just revisiting things and making more distinctions and all that good stuff.
There's also a degree of, what do they call it? No, it's ego death, where you're like, I am not being productive. We are not being productive in this conversation. And that's why I struggle with a lot of the lives as I'm, flipping through. I'll just hear 2 seconds of it, and I'm like, nope. It's an unproductive conversation of people just screaming at each other to get whatever they're really frustrated. That's not productive, and that's not going to do anyone any good. And you're going to start throwing insults and say things you wish you didn't say, and it causes a bigger divide. I can't waste my energy on that. It's not because I'm not right all the time, but I would prefer to have someone maybe explain where I'm deficient in so that I can make a
Right.
better move for
Right.
myself to grow and develop. And I think that one is, someone in the comments said this a second ago, it's in the heat of the moment of the argument, it is one of the hardest things to do, to like bring your physical level down. And for me, I have to walk away and breathe, collect myself so I don't react. And that's how I've been handling that. And I have a sister who's incredibly hyper. And if we start to argue, she does not like to fight, and she will get right in your face and trying to explain her side, and it makes me feel like I'm backed against a corner and I want to lash out, and I'm like, I have to walk away. Your intensity level's a 10 and I need to be at a 5, or else I'm going to go to a 15. Like, but I have to know why I'm acting that way. She can't help the way she is. And so I have to change my level of communication to, one, not get to that level, but then two, be able to speak with our brains and not our physical bodies. When your heart rate goes up and you start sweating, and then you're not thinking clearly or articulate, and then things come out that you can't take back. That's hard. That is not an easy thing to do. And you have to break your ego on it a little bit and say, okay, I think I might be the problem here. And that's huge for you. And then look at how your life's changed because you had that moment or that time and you're like, something's got to change.
Yeah. Yeah. I said this to Danny a couple of weeks ago, talking about an incident that happened on his live where someone went off on me. And I said, I'm not going to forget what this person said, because I believe that anger and wine have the same effect on people. And that is that it lowers inhibitions. That's why there's that old Latin saying, in vino veritas, which means in wine truth, right? And when someone tells me how they really think about me, I believe them. And I don't accept the excuse of, I was angry, I didn't mean what I said. No, you were angry, so you meant exactly what you said, right? So
I think alcohol is the worst thing for relationships.
Well, it depends on your perspective. Some relationships need them.
Yeah, that's true. If they can cap it after.
But no, it's like anything else. Like, you need water to live, but if you drink too much of it, you'll literally drown. So, everything in moderation, right? And this is from someone who doesn't drink and doesn't ingest any mood and mind altering substances. But there are, some people can drink and it's fine. Some people, their whole relationship is based on being drunk together, and that's fine if it works for them,
If you ever catch a live post midnight, when usually, post happy hour, call it, and then the alcohol is really setting in, I prefer not to participate in those, but use it as an opportunity to sit back and not get emotional to whatever side I agree with, and just watch the interaction. And in my mind, I kind of formulate, well, his issue is this and his issue is this, but if he did this and he did that, oh man, I think I need to, like it, sometimes just being a perceiver helps you grow too. And I don't want to participate because then my heart rate will go up and I'm trying to reason with crazy and that's never going to get anywhere. And maybe I'm the crazy one. But but they're interesting if you can pull yourself back from emotion and just from an outside looking in. They even say, like, if a group of people are all talking and the very last person, they all look to that person and what they have to say, that's likely going to be the most powerful words said in the room because they sat back observing and articulating and taking in all of the information before knee-jerk reacting to an emotion that might not really be what you meant or represent you, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, you reminded me of a couple of things. Um, the work that I started doing in 1987 and that I still do today revolves around personal responsibility. Right? Um, this is how hardcore my support group was about that. And this was non-clinical. This was just a bunch of people that got together to examine their lives and be better. And we met every week. We had a task of writing our thoughts in a structured way, at least a half hour every day, no more than an hour and a half to avoid being obsessive. And then we would meet to discuss these things and all that stuff. And the thing that they kept coming back to over and over again was the idea of personal responsibility. And this is how hardcore they were about it. So they would be like, well, let's say you left your house or your dwelling, whatever, and you decided to walk down the street and you get a block or so from your place and you catch a lead round in the shoulder, right? From a projectile, right? And, what's the story there? Obviously, you can't control what the other person did to you because that was their choice and their responsibility. But you have to ask yourself, what role did I play in this? And if you're honest, the role that you played is you chose what time to leave your place and which direction to walk in. That's how hardcore they were about personal responsibility. And I find that to be a very useful place to start because otherwise elements of victimhood start to creep in, which is why when I got the diagnosis of my brain tumor, I never asked why me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the answer to that question is why the fuck not you? Who the fuck are you? I'm a decaying meat sack like everybody else. So I am heir to, what did Shakespeare say in Hamlet? The slings and arrows, right? This is what happens in life. The second thing I thought of, because you mentioned a couple times, maybe 3 times, about the idea of your heart rate going up. Hannibal Lecter. Before Jodie Foster, Starling, right? That was her name before Miss Starling met him. One of the ways that they prepared her for meeting him was to tell her that when some tax assessor or something came to his home, that he wound up biting his tongue out and, ending him, and his heart rate never went up. And the reason why I think about that is because some of you might have witnessed how I handle MAGA hats on here from time to time, especially if you were, on Danny's older lives. But, anywhere on these TikTok streets where I've encountered MAGAs, sometimes it sounds like I'm out of control because I'm yelling at them and berating them and, just generally humiliating them because they're dumb. And what people don't know is that I'm on the other side, calm and cool as a cucumber, because I'm not emotionally attached to what I'm saying to them. I'm intellectually attached to it. But that's why I'm hard to beat in a debate, because I don't get thrown off emotionally. So it's just a little insight into my, kind of psycho level of control that I have sometimes.
You know, it's a interesting topic too, because it's like bullying. I being empathetic to the degree that I have this blessing and curse, I want to defend people that can't or don't know how to. And I'm learning I'm not a hero. And I have got to let people learn for themselves how to handle it and defend it. Do I have a limit where I'm going to jump in and start swinging? Yeah, absolutely, because I just can only tolerate so much of it. But I have noticed that, like, when you protect against those MAGA hats that come in, I immediately, my heart rate doesn't go up at all. I stay very calm. But and I appreciate that. And I've noticed that if I did it once to a guy, he's a very soft-spoken gentleman, and I kind of knew him through some lives, and I jumped right into his defense, but I actually think I insulted him because I didn't give him a chance to defend himself. And maybe that's a role thing, male, female, but I actually didn't mean to. I thought I was helping him, but I could tell that it almost what's the word? Demasculate,
Emasculate. Yeah.
emasculate him, but he couldn't see my intention. And I peeled it apart and I'm like, it's not about me. If he wanted help, maybe I could have held off and given him the way he reacts, which is not so knee jerk, and the space to react. I wouldn't have had to assume it was going to get that bad. And since then, I hold back and let people give them space to react. And when they start to drown, then I can really read it, and then maybe I'll jump in and try to mediate a little bit or end it or go all in and be like, you maggot bag dick fuck, like, but
I like it. You suddenly get Tourette's. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah, it comes straight out.
So yeah,
Everybody was
I
kung fu
definitely feel
fighting.
that. Ann Jackson, hello, good to see you. So I have a policy of never speaking for anyone. That's just my choice. That's my personal policy, because
It's a
I
big
don't
lesson I've
want
learned.
anyone ever speaking for me. That's a habit that I had to break my ex-wife of, and I told her, don't even speak for me when I'm not there. I will always be able to speak for myself. I don't need a lawyer. I am perfectly capable of expressing my thoughts better than the next 2,000 people you can find, probably.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's just
definitely
me.
a
That's just
learning.
me. Like, and nobody's right or wrong. This is just my strategy. Like, I am of the belief that the universe has a bunch of consistencies in it. When we look at galaxies and then we look at the atoms in our body, they're like exactly the same, right?
I know.
It's
We're
as,
just living in
as within as
cell.
without, right? So, one of the through lines that's really, really obvious is struggle. Struggle is a consistent theme in the universe. And struggle is a necessary component to strength. And like the example that I like to use is kind of universal. Like when a child is learning to walk, adults instinctively know that child has to fall over and over and over again in their struggle to learn how to walk. No adult says, oh, I'm going to pick this child up so that they never fall again. Right? So if you take that as a metaphor and extend it everywhere, if someone is struggling to defend themselves, okay. Now, I don't mean that in the physical realm, although there are parts of the physical realm where I still extend that to. Like, isn't it weird that very often when there's a domestic call to the police that a woman makes, when the police show up to take the guy out, then it's the woman jumping on the cop's back, right? So just because you see something in the street doesn't mean you know what's going on there. All right. That could be their drama. Right. And of course, you know, if you feel the need to help, you help, of course. But just because you see struggle doesn't mean that the best thing to do is help. And in the realm of social media, I'm like, sink or swim, man. If you can't figure it out today, then go back and figure out what you need to do so that next time you're better at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been a shit talker my whole fucking life. And when I was like 8, 9 years old, I used to lose sleep regularly because if someone got the better of me in a verbal altercation,
Mm-hmm.
I would obsess over it. I would try to come up with 500 different ways I can rebut to something that'll never happen again. But what that did for me unintentionally was sharpen my mind and speed up my thought process. You know, because it used to bug me. Someone would say something and I would struggle to get the words out.
Mm-hmm.
So even though obsession generally can be a negative thing, in this case, it helped me. And now I'm fast as fuck. Like when when MAGA are trying to come at me or any other negative shithead,
You're
they,
spitting fire.
yeah, it's like, you brought a spoon to a nuclear armament fight.
Mm-hmm. I have to remind myself, you cannot reason with insanity. And some things that are said that are insane, I'm like, I'm out. I
Right.
can't, there's no battle to win here because it's
Right.
just not, we're not gonna.
So what I do is entertain myself in those situations.
I bet
Right.
you're hilarious.
This is my own, this is just purely selfish. Like I'm dealing with a donut. And so I'm not trying to change this donut's mind. Now I just want to humiliate them.
I'm
And it's
okay
a little
with that.
sadistic, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's sometimes you need to show other people a way, and maybe that's showing them that, hey, there's a lot more people smarter than this guy just spitting racism or
Yeah.
whatever uneducated facts that aren't facts. And
Yeah,
it can
last night
be.
someone was on a live trying to say to everybody that he was smarter than me. It made everyone laugh their asses off. It was great. What a great laugh that was.
Oh man. Hey, the way I look at it is that some people they weren't put here to evolve. They were just here to remind you what it looks like if you don't.
Yeah, listen,
If you tell you that, you
unfortunately, and
can't.
I don't mean this to sound judgmental, but I just think it's true. I think when you're looking at the kind of numbers that are here on Earth for human beings, just 8 billion of us,
Mm-hmm.
some people are going to come and go without making much of a ripple. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not an indictment that they're worthless or anything like that. It's just a fucking sad reality. Some people never rise to great heights in any area. There are guys my age that are still trying to, have certain physical encounters with women that I had when I was 18 years old.
Mm.
So, that's why I'm so chill and laid back now. It's like I banged everybody. I'm cool. I'm not worried about it anymore.
Dog.
I haven't been on a date in over 3 years. I just don't give a shit.
Yeah, priorities change, and
Yeah. And I'm good with
but I
it.
do
And
think
it
that.
wasn't like a conscious effort on my part. I didn't like make a decision. I broke up with this woman in May 3 years ago. And I just like never wanted to go on a date since then. And maybe one day it'll change or maybe it won't. I don't care. Either way, I'm fine. Hi,
I kind of
Compy
feel like
Bear. How you
that's
doing?
a common
Hey
theme
guys.
I'm hearing. Hey, Compu.
I'm sorry,
Hey.
Blue. You started saying what?
I feel like that's been a common theme because I'm in a position where I'm not looking, and I'm okay with that. And it may be I kind of have reason, but I'm learning to live fully independently, and that self-love thing where I feel has been broken for a little bit and healing. And that's my priority right now. And that feels, and it's happening and it's working. And I'm feeling happier. And that's once that feels at a point where I feel the need to share my love with someone, then that time will come. I'm hopeful, but I don't need it right now. And I've got too much work that I can't burden someone with the pain that I'm going through or dealing with or working through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone asked me recently how it felt to give up SEX. I said, I didn't give it up. There's just nobody there with me. Copy Bear, what's
You'll
going on? How you doing?
you'll find somebody, I promise. I'm sure you'll find somebody because
I
you're
have no
kind.
interest.
Well, and I get that, but I'm just saying I know that I do. I mean, I understand there's part of me that always sees the future and things. I you're so kind and intelligent and smart and loving person that I can't imagine that you wouldn't find somebody in the future. Not that you're looking for anybody, but that doesn't say that somebody might just not come along and be the perfect person, right?
Well,
And fit
if
you
I'm looking for
perfectly.
perfect, I'm certainly going to be disappointed. But if here's what I think I would need to even consider being involved with another woman. It would be she'd have to be wealthy and have low standards. That works really well for me. I
Oh,
excel in that environment.
no, that's not true. That's not true at all
Don't
because
talk like
I
that.
mean, yeah, that's horrible
You
because
beat
I mean, I
yourself up
understand the wealthy
sometimes.
part.
Hey,
Yeah, I get the part that you want to be
I like to
someone with
make
wealthy, but
myself laugh, and I don't care if anybody's laughing with me sometimes, you know?
I get it. I'm just saying, no, they don't have to have low standards because you're so intelligent and you're so smart and
Oh, thank you.
I
I
know that there's
appreciate
two
that.
different things, and you're so polite and kind and loving, that it would be very easy to find somebody that I think would
I mean,
really
whenever
fit
I
you.
go out to find someone I do, that's, I mean, you know what's really funny? Because I always say I love internet dating, like dating apps, and people like, what do you mean dating apps are horrible? Like, I didn't even know that people had a hard time on dating apps for the longest time. It wasn't until I started watching podcasts from the Red Pill guys, which are, sad bunch of dudes, but all these people, oh my God, these dating apps are horrible. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're easy. I've always had an easy time on dating apps, but then again, being a professional communicator helps tremendously with that.
When that time comes, she will be lucky.
Right,
Thank you.
extremely lucky.
That's what I'm
Thank you.
definitely going to say on that.
That's
I
all I'm
appreciate
trying
it.
to say. A
Yeah.
wise person once told me to be the person that you want in life. So if you want someone who's athletic and, energetic and has that drive, then you need to be that person as well.
Oh,
Um,
I'm the opposite.
if you're
Yeah,
looking for
that's
someone
over three with me right there. But
I'm the opposite.
if you're
maybe
looking
if
for someone
I,
who's intelligent, if you're
so
looking for
I'll
someone
have
who's
to
intelligent,
get
smart, and
rid of all
kind,
my teeth and my gag reflex, I guess, because yeah.
one never knows, dear. One never knows.
Oh, I
And
just cracked
getting
myself up. I love that.
and
That's
getting
so
and
funny.
getting back to this MAGA thing. So the question, the problem I always have when I meet MAGA people is being educated. I always try and help educate them. I mean, not from a condescending view, but just okay, maybe these are things that you don't understand, or maybe things you haven't learned, right?
Yeah.
Not looking at them as being ignorant, but just not things that they don't, know. Because we can't know everything, but there's certain things that I'm really good at learning and I went to college for. But MAGAs so hate anybody that's gone to college. Like going to college, you
Yeah.
laugh,
No,
but it's
I
like
know they don't like that book learning.
it's like going to college is a sin, and I have a hard time with that because when my family's from the South, but being Jewish, I mean, I think as long as history has ever been history, right? Jewish people have always raised their children from the time they're toddlers, expecting that they're going to one learn, but two go to college. Like our whole lives, we know we're going to college. That's kind of it. That's
Yeah,
always
I
been.
can't wait till the day where America stops forcing children into the scam of college. But that's a topic for another night.
Um, I,
Second.
I I don't see anything wrong with teaching your children to believe that it's important to learn.
Those
It's
things
a
are
waste
not
of,
equal, right? Learning is learning.
What?
College is a different thing altogether.
Okay.
I
Uh,
wish I wish I society at the time allowed me to take 20 years off and then decide what to invest in to go back to school, because I do nothing with my degree. I've been
By the
last
way,
20
that
years in
happens 80% of the time statistically.
exactly. It's an
And
experience. It's
anything
not.
with an 80% failure rate is a scam to me.
I don't see. I disagree. Even though I don't use my degree anymore. I mean, I did for a while, but I don't anymore. And my degree is in psychology because I couldn't take computer science back then. Girls weren't allowed to have get degrees in computer science. I had to beg to take computer science classes. Girls weren't allowed to back then. So I got my degree in psychology and I did use it for a while. I learned, I learned taking care of autistic children. I went on to work with transgender adults counseling. So I did use it for a while, but I eventually gave it up because computers were really my passion. And I bought a chain of computer stores, or I built a chain of computer stores. And so I went in the computer industry. Um, but the education I got, not just the psychology, but the overall round of education, sociology, art, all of the stuff that we had to take to get to the degree, right, was still all stuff that I learned. And I think having that overall education is very important to living in society and being able to advance yourself. You don't agree?
Oh, I don't disagree. You said you disagreed with what? Where's your disagreement with me?
That college is a scam.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so let's see. We convince a teenager before they can legally sign a contract to get into a contract, and then it's lifelong debt, and 80% of them don't use their degree. So that sounds like a scam to me. Now, if you're talking about what you learn along the way, you can learn all that stuff without going into lifelong debt.
You're right. The fact that it's lifelong debt. When I went to college, it wasn't lifelong debt. Um, my 4-year degree was $4,000.
But
Right.
it's lifelong debt. It's been lifelong debt for a long time because, the college used to be free in America until brown people started getting in, and then they tried to put up barriers. And the financial barrier is the easiest one to put up. So to me, I make it a point to bifurcate the difference between schooling and education. Schooling is not necessary. Education, I'm all for. I've educated myself. But, I went to college. It was the best 15 minutes of my life. Glad I did it. But, the idea that it's somehow necessary, like for some things, yeah, lawyer, doctor, of course. We want college educated people doing that and, certain other functions in life. If you're inventing stuff, if you're working with the electrical grid, I get it. But, the idea that the only pathway to success in America is through college is a complete scam to me.
Yeah, it should be free, I would say, at least public. And then I will say there is something to be said. I think maybe it has to do with the development of the brain, and I'm kind of making this up on the fly right now.
Mhm.
Maybe it's something in the 20s or early 20s where just going through the structure of it and then dragging yourself through the 4 years of it and then getting that diploma from a societal standpoint opens your mind to, hey, you made this happen. So it's still kind of a joke.
Yeah.
I get it.
Collecting
And agree.
stamps would do the same thing. I mean, hi, OG Nerd. Good to see you. So, again, am I saying that college is wrong? No, I'm saying the way college is structured in America is a scam. If college resulted in educated people that could get good jobs for themselves, that could sustain themselves for a lifetime, rather than being burdened with, like, there are people collecting Social Security checks and they're getting dinged because of their school loan. That to me is insane.
or that there was a guy that had
Yeah,
a
I'm just saying, I'm not disagreeing with that aspect of it, right? I don't disagree with that aspect of it all. My thing is that putting someone down because they went to college, right? Or
No,
because they
definitely
got
nobody
a
was doing
degree.
that. Yeah, no,
No. I'm not saying
definitely.
they were, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I have a problem with the MAGA with, right?
Well, yeah.
Putting someone down,
Look,
and it's
if
like,
they
and it
if
just, to
you
me, it
if
just
you
shows more of their
flick a
ignorance.
bic in front of them and they get nervous, of course they're going to be scared of school. So, but
have you guys
anyway,
ever heard
we are starting
um
to wrap up. So, CompuBear, thank you for coming up. Glad to hear from you always. We're going to get some final thoughts, starting with Blue.
sure, I guess flick a bic.
Yeah.
It's
Fire.
there is this woman I follow. Just recently, I found her. The knitting cult lady, I think her name is. She's a decent following. And she was raised in a cult and
I
was able
think I
to
know
get
her.
out of it.
I think I've seen her
Yeah,
content. Yeah.
she's like gives it. She's a sharp shooter. She definitely like. People say you're not an expert, and she's like, well, is the expert the person that went to study about it, or the person that lived it for 25 years? That
That's,
made me
by the way, that's exactly my rationale for why I'm
right,
effective
and
as a coach, is because I've been doing this for 38 years.
and you're good at it because you love it, and
I
that's
do.
huge. That's a lesson in itself.
Same
And a
thing
lot
with
of people,
oral sex. Almost said it.
no teeth and
I'm good at
tonsils.
it because I love it. But go ahead. What's the rest of your thought?
My degree is pre-med Spanish and mycology.
Oh,
I'm answering
nice.
in the comments.
Nice,
I did
nice.
nothing. I found out I'm really bad with blood. Yeah, and that was when I was doing my rounds. And I went to help my sister and give her an injection during her pregnancy, and I
Did
fainted
you
on her
ever see
kitchen
the
floor.
Michael J. Fox film Doc Hollywood?
No, wait a minute. Sounds
It's old, of
familiar.
course. It's like from the 80s or early 90s. Woody Harrelson's in it, and he plays like a country bumpkin. And he says something to the effect of, I could have been a doctor, but it was all the studying and learning and stuff that stopped me.
I do believe that the gynecology thing, and that might be a whole different topic. I'm not even going to say it because I'm going to get myself in trouble. As far as, yeah, I'm just not going to say it. But as far as having a hard time talking with MAGA when they're just angry and they can't articulate, and I want to empathize. There's kind of two parts to it. There's the part of maybe the lack of education or knowing how to communicate, and that gets frustrating and makes us knee-jerk react and become a person we don't want to be. But it also is kind of a cult, and that knitting culting lady, or the cult knitting lady, was really trying to explain it. She said, good luck with those fights or arguments. You're not going to get through. It's when there's a very small crack or a sliver of a crack that happens in the foundation of their belief that there might be hope to pull them out of that cult. But it is a mental thing, delusion, this thing. And that the Epstein files thing, because that was so important to
Nope,
them.
Epi files.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, the epi. And it's causing a crack. And if there's any time that you think that you might be able to help or influence, it's when their foundation begins to crack a little.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
it
and you
bounce
never
back?
know. You never know. Look,
Yes.
there used to be people, it's still a thing, but it was really big at the end of the 60s and 70s of cult deprogramming. And because I've read up on psychology a lot, this is one of the things that you wind up reading about. And I refreshed my memory recently when it occurred to me that this is clearly a cult. That's the only thing I would change about what you said. Not maybe a cult. It's absolutely a cult.
It is. Yeah,
If you take the time, maybe we're talking about 15, 20 minutes to just read generic descriptions of the characteristics of a cult, you'll see that MAGA checks all the boxes.
yeah.
And the thing is this, if you're trying to deprogram a cult member, there's essentially two ways to do it, right? And it's the same metaphor for an onion. You can either peel all the layers of the onion, or you can take a cleaver and cut it right in half, right? And so sometimes people put up a lot of resistance because they're just reacting, right? But you never know what happens after the fact. Like, you could see someone who sounds intractable, right? They sound like they're deep in it and there's no way of getting through to them. But after you both walk away from the fray, they might start thinking. And of course, you never know when it's going to happen. You never know who it's going to happen to. Sometimes you might not ever know that it's happened. But Grizzly is a good example of that. He's a creator on TikTok, and he is former MAGA. He voted for Dump and then realized he was wrong, and he converted over. And now he's completely anti-Dump. So I know it happens, and I've known that it could happen since the 70s. And so, it's a question of if you choose to invest your energy in that or not. And I don't blame anyone that decides I'm not doing it, because it's exhausting, potentially, right? And it becomes more exhausting if you are committed to the outcome. So me, as I just sweep across MAGAs left and right, I am not committed to changing their mind. I am committed to humiliating them enough so that they are put in a position to think. Because I know how men work, especially. I speak fluent dude. So I know that these guys that put up a good front, oh, fuck you, Yoda, right? Or they'll call me the N-word or something like that. But at the end of the day, the reason why they get so angry at me is because they know that I'm just overwhelming them. Because, these people, like, one of the reasons I don't get angry at MAGA hats is because I picture them as like a 5-year-old calling me a poopy head, because that's the level of intellect that they bring to a conversation. And there are a few smart ones now and again. I've met a bunch. Danny and I have spoken to a bunch of them that were very reasonable. They had differing positions, but they weren't intractable. They were open to dialogue, and whatever happened after that happened. I'm not connected to that. That's another way that I stay calm and cool about it, is that I'm not sitting here thinking I have to save this guy. I'm going to save this MAGA hat. No. And I'm not saying my tactic is right. This is just my strategy. Because again, I know how men work. And I know that when they get off the live where I've humiliated them, even if they're pretending that I didn't, I did. And they're probably going to think about that. And I've had people. I had a guy who, I think it was Danny's live or maybe it was somebody else's live. I hammered this motherfucker because he's a minority that voted for Dump. And I have a special level of hatred for people like that. And I hammered this fucking guy. He came up the next night on my live and was like, he literally said, "God bless you," to me.
Really?
Now, if that guy had not come up on my live, I would have never thought about him again. But because it had just happened the night before, I remembered him, and I was like, "Yeah, I was rude to that guy yesterday,"
Wow.
But
See, and
it
that's
happens.
the thing, because it's less likely a woman's going to be able to speak man and do what you did. And
Oh
so I
yeah.
appreciate that. That's interesting, because if a woman's going all MAGA, I'm more likely to try to speak to her
Right.
than
Because
a
you can
male.
connect to her in a way that I can't, right?
Interesting.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know why it is at all controversial to say that men and women are different. My whole life, that just seemed like the most obvious fucking thing, right? And this is, for whatever reason, I wrap my head around shit based on metaphors, right? So I'm very
Me too.
biblical in that sense, right? So the metaphor that I have for this dynamic is a pitcher and a catcher on a baseball team, right?
Mhm.
So the pitcher and the catcher have two different jobs, and those jobs require two completely different skill sets. Those skill sets overlap in places, but not only are there different skill sets, but they literally face in opposite
Mhm.
directions. So their perspective of the game is different,
Mm.
but
It's a
they're on
great
the
analogy.
same team working for the same goal of winning the baseball game. And nobody's angry at the fact that they're different. Why are people angry at the idea that men and women are different? That's just dumb. Of course we're different. We have different strengths. We have different weaknesses. And before all this societal bullshit, especially the shit that gets poisoned through religion, and again, make a distinction between the believer and the belief. The belief is my issue, which is the organization that's always asking you for money and damning you to hell. Okay? But like, you can be different. It's okay. Like all this nonsense that society throws at us that, says, well, this is your role and this is your role and there's no overlap. And, God said this and this one said that. Shut up.
You
Get rid of all that
you
shit and
you
just
get
like be
that.
who you are. Like just be who, like before we have been around for 300,000 years. It was only around 2,000 years ago that this dumb shit entered into the lexicon.
Mm. It set us back 30 years.
30. Fuck.
Well, the thing is, truly, you understand that you need the yin and the yang to make the merry-go-round. But there's some individuals that the second a woman threatens them in whatever they define as threatening when she's not intending on it, and they immediately go for her jugular. It's an old bias, maybe a blind bias that they have. Those ones are real, I struggle with, but I do appreciate people like you who are leading our future children and leading by example, in that a pitcher is not better than a catcher. Both are needed to play the
Absolutely.
game.
Absolutely.
And
And, I mean, my son's 40 years old now, so I'm essentially done teaching him anything.
Mhm.
But this is how I raised him, because I find, especially as a minority, I find the idea of being oppressive to someone completely disgusting. So that's why I've been a defender of women my whole life.
Mhm.
Like if I see a man is harming, like if any woman comes to me that I know and
Mhm.
says, you got to help me because this dude is hurting me, I'm
Or
like, well,
even
number one, you understand that you have now gone for the nuclear option, right? Because I'm shutting this down immediately. Like, and I've literally told my women friends that, like, call me, but make sure you understand what this call means, because I'm going to get this guy off you by any means fucking necessary. And I
and
wanted to
even as a
raise my son the
man,
same way.
and that's amazing. And I just have so much respect for that. You have no idea.
And there's
And
more of us out
again,
here than
it's
you
you both.
think. There's
I
more,
know.
like that's why it disturbed me what that woman was saying earlier, like literally painting all men as evil. It's like, really? Like you've never encountered good men in your life? Come on, that's absurd,
Yeah. Well,
you
just
know?
because they happen to be right now loud doesn't mean there's many. There's
Right.
a lot more that are just at a different articulation level. The person standing on the table in the room, pounding his chest, screaming, is not the most powerful person in the room. And women, we get defensive sometimes because that fear of our protection feels like it's like diminishing and we're going backwards, going backwards.
Sure.
So again, I
Look,
appreciate
it's the same. Look,
what you do.
here's where I relate to women on a certain level, right? As a woman, all men look the same. They're just men, right? You don't know which of these men is going to hurt you if one chooses to. And as a minority, the same is true with me and Caucasians. I don't know which one of them is going to hurt me. And I've been surrounded by them and
Mm.
threatening physical harm to me, right? So I relate to that on a certain level. That's not your entire experience, so I can't make claim to understand your entire experience, but I can connect to that part of it,
I know you
right?
can.
And so, you know, that's what I want women to understand. It's like, I get it. It doesn't matter if 10,000 men were wonderful to you if one of them harmed you. That's a size versus impact thing. The size of the group that was good to you is vastly superior, but the impact that that one individual had was more severe, right? It's the same thing. Last analogy, and then we're going to wrap it up. Um, I remember I was 13 years old when the Son of Sam was cruising New York City and wreaking havoc. And at that time, I think the city had something like 5 or 6 million people living in it. And everyone was terrified. My stepsister looked exactly like all of his victims. She's a Caucasian Jewish woman. Blonde hair, busty, the whole thing. Like, looked exactly like every one of his victims. So this is one man in a city of 6 million terrorizing the entire city. Size versus impact. So I totally get that. And more men need to understand that. You can't just say it's not all men. Yes, that's an obvious fact. But understand the impact that one man can have on a woman. It can be devastating. And if not treated correctly, it could be lifelong implications to that harm. You know, so anyway,
You know, and it's always a white man that tends to do it to.
YT, yes.
It's never been ever, and I can never even tell you one time a black man has made me feel inferior or unsafe or unprotected, and you can feel the man code and know when they're stomping on my words to kind of come in and ease it, because like that's an intellect that comes from wisdom and knowledge of what's happened in the history of our past being black and women. And
Yep.
it's very different. One's much worse, but there is a thing of evolution there where we just get it. And it's very hard to explain, but I will end on one thing, is that I've been dying to say this, and common sense is like deodorant. The people who need it most never use it.
Yeah, I tend to think common sense isn't a real thing, but that's a great line. I love that. So thank you so much for coming up tonight. As
Thank you.
always, you're always welcome here. Always enjoyable to hear you.
You're wonderful. Thank you so much. And Danny, I hope you're feeling better.
All right, have a good night. Danny, my friend, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'll wake up for you for a few minutes.
Excellent. Oh, so we covered a lot of ground this evening. I'm glad I brought up this topic. I'm never sure. I think I'm pretty good at laying out the groundwork, but I'm never sure if people are going to get upset by some of the things I say, because they're a little bit off the beaten path. So I'm glad the conversation went the way it did. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was really, really good and needed to be done. I mean, there were some people that really got something out of it, and I think that's great. The chat was involved. The interaction from the chat was excellent.
Yeah.
And the panelists, other than me taking naps in between, it was good. But no, I'm kidding. All honesty, it was a good one.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, that Doc Hollywood is one of my favorite movies that Michael J. Fox ever did. I
Yeah.
didn't mind Back to the Future when it first came out. The first one was good,
Yeah.
but the rest of them they kind of lost
Yeah.
their path on the
It
rest
was a
of them.
cash grab.
Yeah, but I had to admit the Doc Hollywood was extremely good and was well done. And I like Woody Harrelson in himself. I
Oh, he
liked
was
him
so
when he
funny. So funny.
oh yeah, when he came out of that bathroom and was getting ready to sit down in that booth, he said, what's this guy selling perfume in the bathroom? What is that all about? I remember that line when he came on, and everybody looking at what? So yeah, that was good. And even George Hamilton in there playing that plastic surgeon that was talking to him on the interview. He was really pretty good. And for George Hamilton, I was surprised that he had a little sense of humor, because most of the stuff he was in, he never was that funny. He wasn't supposed to be
Right.
at the movie.
Right.
So, but anyway, I digress. Yeah, that was a good live, and
George
it
Hamilton, I
was.
believe, was in the film Zorro the Gay Blade.
Yes, he was in that one too. But
And
again,
here's the tie-in that's very interesting. The film The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix was
right,
set in the same year. Now, every Batman film makes reference to Zorro
right,
because Bob Crane ripped off Zorro to create Batman. Okay?
yeah,
And the Wayne family is walking out of the theater right before they get slaughtered, and they were walking out of Zorro. That was Bob Crane's nod to the
right,
source material,
right.
right? But what they did very cleverly in the background of one scene, because it was, again, I think it was set in 1980, in the background of one of the shots, you see a film marquee that said Zorro the Gay Blade.
Hmm. Well, I remember that now when you think about it. But I'll be honest with you, there's two movies that George Hamilton was extremely good in. And I have to say this because they're older movies and I like them because that's back in my era.
Yeah.
And Home from the Hills was one with Robert Mitchum.
Ah,
Very good movie.
Mitchum.
So if you
Can't go
ever want to
wrong with
watch a
Robert
good
Mitchum.
movie, yeah, Home from the Hills. And you need to see that movie if you've never seen it. It's really good.
Yeah, never have. I'm
Yeah.
looking it up right now. I spelled home wrong. That would help if I spelled it correctly. Home from the Hills. Is it from the hill? Home from the Hill? Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. I may
No, there
pronounce
it is.
that
Yep,
wrong.
1960. Robert Mitchum. Found it.
Yep. Yep. And the other movie that he was in that he did a very good job, and it was an autobiography movie, was Your Cheating Heart. He played Hank Williams
I think I saw that one.
as a young person, and it is
Yeah.
excellent. It
Nice.
was an excellent. He did good at both of those.
Good stuff. All right, folks, just as a reminder, Danny is on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Mondays and Wednesdays, topical stuff, but all positive stuff, the way of positive change, right? So on Fridays is Fun Day Friday, Casual Friday, Trivial Pursuit. You've got to check it out. It's spectacular. Traffic Man, thank you for all the gifts and all that good stuff. You're the best. So any other last thoughts, Danny?
Well, I talked about it just at the end of my live today. Is coming up in August. I'm going to try something new. It needs to be done. It's going to be called Vet Talk, VET Talk, and it's veterans helping veterans, finding resources, checking out what's available out there for them, how they deal with the VA, what's good and bad, and a lot of them get out of service and they have no, especially my era, didn't have much of a transition of getting and then after 9/11 they kind of changed up the game and the post was getting them more involved on their processing out. But the biggest thing is that have vet talk is going to bring veterans together to talk about things that are concerning them, because with Doge cutting back on things and everything that's going on with the cutbacks in the hospitals and the Medicaid and the Medicare and all this. veterans are concerned, and they're all affected one way, shape, form, or another. So we're going to have vet talks 2 times a month on the first Sunday and the third Sunday of the month at 12 noon Pacific time. And I'm hoping to see veterans there. And if you keep an eye out for it, I will be talking about it in the short videos here and there, moving up to it.
Nice.
And that's what it's going to be, vet talk.
Yeah, so what we saw tonight was a preview because we saw the dynamic of two veterans helping a veteran that didn't fully understand what his options were regarding his benefits. So that was an amazing thing to witness for me. So anybody that knows veterans, please direct them toward Danny. He has amazing compassion. He's here to help genuinely. He doesn't ask for anything. Just support his lives. Let's get the word out. Let's make sure that TikTok knows that Danny is here. And, you never have to remind me, Danny. I know you're here. I always look forward to interacting with you. I think at this point, I spend more of my time with you than anybody else in the world.
I think Grandma Carol feels the same way about you. But she's okay with that, and she's really looking forward to meeting
Oh,
you in
I can't wait.
August.
I can't wait. It's going to be
You know what I can
spectacular.
feed him.
Well,
Yeah.
she needs to know what you can. She can feed you, so you
Yeah,
need to kind
we'll
of give her an
definitely
idea.
we're going to work that out before I show up, so it'll be easy.
Okay.
So all right, with that, good night, Danny. We will definitely talk soon. Thank you as always for being up here.
Thanks a lot, my friend.
All right, I've got no closing for this evening. I'm going to make it short and sweet. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone for your time, for your attention, for tapping the screen, for making comments, for giving gifts, all that stuff. I can't thank you enough. As always, my panel, just top notch. There's not a topic that I can throw out that these people can't handle. And I love that. And I respect everybody's perspective and thoughts. Even when I disagree with you, I still respect that you have your position. I love that. All right, so that's it for tonight. I will hopefully be back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm here Mondays through Saturdays, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Yoddah Live, peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.